Welcome to this episode of Oh, by the way, on location.
Oh, I love this.
I love when we get to go out into the community.
This was a good idea.
I know. And today we're super excited because we're on location here at our friend Jeff's office, Bellomo and Associates. Thank you so much, Jeff, for having us.
Thank
here.
you guys for coming. Love to have you.
It's a lawyer's office. I'm in a lawyer's office and I'm not in trouble. That's a good thing. That's a really good thing.
How often are you in lawyers' offices and when you're in trouble?
I haven't ever been, and that's what I'm saying. My record is like,
You're clean.
I'm clean.
That's a good thing.
I love it, yeah.
That's it. Well, we were so excited to come down today and hang out with you and talk because you've been connected with Olivia's house for so many years, and you're such a great friend to the mission.
He's family.
Yeah, he's family. And we thought, well, what kind of better way to share how we got involved and where the synergy and symmetry is and all that kind of stuff. So.
And anybody that has ever come to our galas knows who you are because Thy Will Be Done is a part of the gala every year. So,
absolutely. And you won Thy Will Be Done this year.
I won this year, and we'll get into that a little later. But just where did it start with you and Olivia's house?
Well, my wife, Whitney. Whitney's a first grade school teacher. And she fortunately had a student who passed away in, I think, one of her very first classes, actually.
Yeah, she was a young teacher, I think, wasn't she?
Yeah, very, very young. And it happened right around 9/11, which also imposed a lot of other issues and things on how to deal with grief with the children and stuff. And so the family, I believe, went through Olivia's house.
Right.
And Whitney knew a lot about it then, and she kept saying, someday I want to give back.
Yeah.
And then the next year, one of her students' mothers passed away. And they also went through the program, and the daughter was very adamant that Olivia's house helped tremendously for her and for her family. And I would say 2 years later, my wife said to me, it's time.
Aww.
I want to give back, and I want to give back to what they did for the families that I'm close with.
Aww.
And I said, you know what? I support you 1,000%, and whatever that means, go for it. And here we are, a lot of years later.
Yeah, it's been almost 11 years later, and what a great wifey you have. We love her. We love her.
I remember Whitney came now. Whitney served on our board of directors and then moved into the role of secretary.
Yes.
And Whitney's very similar to me in that she's slightly OCD, anal retentive.
You two are clones.
We're a good pair.
Clones of one another.
So in that regard, she was perfect secretary. The most fastidious note taking that you will have. And then eventually she shifted into the role of board president. And served
and a wonderful board president.
Yeah, and great leadership she provided.
And then kind of hoodwinked and hooked you in. As our legal advisor, and that's been wonderful to have you, to know that you've got a lawyer in your back pocket for anything. Right. It's just a real gift. So we really have always appreciated that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then it kind of turned in a beautiful way. Your kind of specialty in the legal department kind of shifted into estate planning, which I think is such a natural fit for what we do, because so oftentimes, how about it?
Yes.
We see families that come in that had never crossed their mind to do. And the chaos that unfolds when they don't know, what does the living will look like? Who gets what? How do we handle all this financial question?
Well, and more importantly, because we have so many young widows and widowers, they're unprepared because they're young. They don't even think about that. And then they lose their spouse. And they say to me, my children are so concerned about what if something happens to me. And that is the natural curiosity of a child.
Absolutely.
When they lose one parent, they get very protective of the one they have left. They want to know, who am I going to live with if something happens to you? So I'm sure you probably see the majority of your clients are probably older, but or are they more young? What's it like?
It's a good mix, actually. We get a little bit of everything.
Okay.
I do have an elder law practice, so certainly if I was looking at the elder law practice, absolutely.
Okay.
But a good portion of what we do is estate planning. And so in the estate planning arena, you get everything from 25-year-olds who just had their first child, 50, 55-year-olds saying, all right, we have grandkids now, we have some other things that we're looking at. So the range really varies.
Well, it's funny. What I remember about that is when I was young and we had our two children, I think they were 6 months and 3.5 years old. And I said to my husband, we need a will because we're doing some traveling And what happens as we travel together, we're not taking them with us. Right. It was a trip he won with his company. Yep. And we were going to go on this trip, and I said, what do we do? Right. We can't assume that their grandparents are going to get custody. No. So, and as I understood it, and I don't know if this is still the case, if you don't have a will, the state decides. Is that right?
Yeah, a guardianship proceeding would be what would have to occur. And they're not always pretty, as we like to say.
So we set up our will when we were very young. But we haven't done anything with it since. So here our children now are 30 and 28, and it's time for us to go back and redo this thing a little bit, which is why I'm so grateful Ken got Thy Will Be Done at the gala, because it's time.
Which maybe we should explain to all of those of you who don't know what Thy Will Be Done is. At our gala, we always have a live auction in which we try to garner some funds for the mission. And Jeff so graciously always gives an estate planning package. Yep. And we call it Thy Will Be Done. We feel like it's just the best fit for what we do. We share why it's important, and then we auction it off. And this year, Mom was the recipient. So thank you for that gift, Jeff.
I remember the first year that Whitney came to me and said, Casey and Jim have this idea, we're thinking about doing this Thy Will Be Done in a live auction. I said, oh, please don't embarrass me. Please don't have this.
No one will bid.
Right? You're going to do this big hoopla about this Thy Will Be Done, and then we're going to get to the live auction, and we're going to hear crickets. Everybody looking at each other. And it's gone the exact opposite.
Yes.
I mean, there's been years where we've had people at the tables fighting with it.
Yeah.
The one year I remember you looked at me and said, okay, we have 3 people here. Would you be willing to give 3? I had that moment of, how am I going to go back to the office on Monday and tell my team members that I just gave away 3? But
listen,
you did.
The look that came across your face, though, was
priceless.
Of course. There was no doubt in your mind. It was like, yeah, sure, you got it. And it was one of those things we had talked about. Could we maybe do 2? And you said, yeah. But when we had 3, it was like, I looked at Jim saying, maybe? I don't know what to do.
But that just goes to show it is really, really important. And it's one of those things, I think, where you think about it, and you put it off. And then when it's right there in front of you and you can bid on it, it's perfect. And I was shocked that my husband bid. So we hadn't even talked about it. Oh, wow. We always talk every year, like, if you can, bid on Thy Will Be Done.
Right.
But when he bid on it and we won it, I was thrilled. Yeah. Because we are at that stage in life where it is really time now to get things organized and in order. So I'm looking forward to doing it.
Well, we always say, the average number of years between estate plan updates is 20.
Is that right?
Yeah.
That's about right then. Yeah.
And that scares me.
Yeah.
As the lawyer who specializes in this, I always think you should revisit it every 1 to 3 years.
Is that right?
But for most of us, whatever the reasons are, whether it's time, whether it's you don't want to think about it, whether it's money, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. So to be able to offer that for people, and knowing that where the proceeds go, certainly it's wonderful.
That's very cool. And like I said, so many times I meet with families after a death, and there's a custody issue going on. The grandparents are fighting, and there's really a lot of issues, and they got to come into the program for the children, and they're not speaking to one another. It's not good. No. It's not good. So I love it when there's been some conversation and some planning, and
and we always say it's the gift you give.
Yes.
It sounds strange, but having the plan in place is a huge gift.
Mm-hmm. And actually, it's a fairly simple process. Once you do your will, in your will you name who the guardian is of your child.
Right.
You can say who the guardian of the person is, and then who the guardian of the estate is, who's going to handle the monies. And so it's not really an overly complicated process.
Right.
And that's what's so sad is it causes such havoc.
I think the biggest thing is people don't always, I think husbands and wives don't always agree on who the kids will be with. Yeah. So that keeps them from doing it. In our case, we agreed on who the kids would go to, but we didn't want anyone to know that. Oh. We just wanted to have it done. So to this day, nobody really knows who the guardian would have been if we wouldn't have come home from that trip. Yeah. Because I didn't want to offend anybody. Yeah. Everybody wanted them. 2 sets of grandparents and some aunts and uncles. And it was going to, I think, that was a little iffy. Yeah. So I'm glad we never had to have that happen. So I think that sometimes can also be an issue.
Yeah. So. Well, and I think the other thing that's awesome about thinking about it, if you're thinking about doing an estate plan of sorts, is what a better person to work with than Jeff.
That makes
it's not like you're walking into a lawyer's office. I mean, it's Jeff, and it's just so personal, and you have that relationship. So I think that's just a perfect fit.
Well, did I forget my suit and tie?
I know, right? That's it. Like we said, there's nothing stuffy about you and what you do, and it's always come across your whole family to Olivia's house. It's always been family. Yep. So we're always gracious of that.
And then a little bit, share with us a little bit about if you have money that you would like to give or donate to a charity. Is that what's done at that time too? When you say it's estate planning, what all goes on besides the will?
Yeah, absolutely. So in the will, it's just a million different things that you can do.
Okay.
Who you're going to give the assets to. And if it's a child, obviously you want to know who's going to take care of the child, who's going to handle the monies for the child. But within that, you can certainly give to a charity. We often have that conversation with clients about different charities, and of course, I'm a little loyal. I certainly try not to push anybody, but within that, they can certainly name a charity. They can do it through what is called a specific bequest, where they can say, hey, at our death, we want to give, $20,000. Or it could be what they call the residuary, which is, okay, so after stuff's paid out and debts are paid, whatever's left, we'll give 20%, we'll give 40%, we'll give 100%. And you can name the charity, and then upon death, it's pretty easy to do. The Attorney General gets involved a little bit when there's charities, but it's not hard at all for the person making the will.
And it's best to have that in writing.
Absolutely.
It goes into what we have at Olivia's house. We call it our Guardian Angel Legacy Fund. So anyone that tells us that they put this in their estate planning and says, I've named you, whether it's a residual or just a gift, all they do is tell us that, and then they become a guardian angel. And you get a brick in the garden, and you get, all of that kind of, just to acknowledge the fact that, I'm thinking of Olivia's house beyond my lifetime. I'm going to give a gift that lasts beyond my time.
I've had a couple clients that have named Olivia's house, and I've mentioned the process and what they can do. And the one lady in particular looked at me and said, "Oh, I don't want anybody to know." And I said, "No, that's fine." And I said, "Can I ask why?" And she said, "Well, a guardian angel isn't always named, and I don't think I should be." And I was like, "Wow." She goes, "I want to do it because it's the right thing. And once I'm gone, the kids will know." And I was like, "Whoa!" Talk about
make you cry.
It was such a moment, and
it must be really fun to do your job and really rewarding to do your job.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. What we've tried to do in our practice is to just education.
Yeah.
We try to be a little different than, as you've highlighted, a little different than most lawyers, which is we try to do everything in our practice through educating the public. We had some situations in my family where we didn't understand what was occurring. We didn't really know what the options were, and I was a lot younger then and didn't have the knowledge, and I promised my family, this won't happen.
Yeah.
When I'm a lawyer and I'm in my own practice and I get to do what makes me passionate and what drives me, I won't let that occur. So our entire system is all around a workshop. We do a 2-hour free workshop just to educate the public. They can't even become a client. It's all about talking about powers of attorney and guardianship and just the basics. Yeah. We don't get too advanced. It's really just the stuff that I would bet
that everybody needs to know.
And 95% probably don't.
Yes. Yep. I remember as a hospice volunteer, I worked very closely with families, and I would sit with the dying patient near the end of their life, and the power of attorney was talked about all the time. And sometimes it was a source of comfort knowing that was all being handled by somebody. And sometimes it was a point of contention. Yeah. So it's a little bit of both. But tell me a little bit, or tell us all a little bit about what we call POAs, or power of attorneys.
Yeah, so what we always say is there's two main types. There's a healthcare POA and a financial POA.
Oh, okay.
So the financial POA, pretty clearly, you're naming somebody else to make your financial decisions on your behalf. I always say, think of it like this. If you're not able to make your own decisions, who's going to step in your shoes and make them for you? Because if you don't have a power of attorney and you lose capacity, that is also what is called a guardianship process, where we go into court, a judge in a black robe who's never met your family has to decide, who's going to be appointed as your guardian. So financial POA, and then of course the medical POA, which makes your medical decisions.
Right, I'm more familiar with that one.
Right, and the financial POA, I always say, that ceases at the moment of death.
Okay.
So if you're named for somebody, look,
Okay.
at the time they pass,
Yeah.
your power's gone.
Okay.
Right?
So you can't write any more checks.
No.
Yeah.
If I had a quarter for every time somebody said to me, Jeff, Mom passed away 3 weeks ago, but don't worry, I paid her bills today.
Yeah.
With what power?
Yeah.
Oh, the power of attorney. No, that's gone. But
So what do you do in that case? Do you tell them just stop now
just
as of today, stop paying?
Yeah, stop paying, and
Okay.
then we take over and we administer the
Okay.
estate, and then we take care of that.
Yeah.
Make sure that it's done properly.
Yeah.
And with a medical POA, that can also cease at the moment of death.
Okay.
But if you have a living will, which is a document that says if I am permanently unconscious, terminally ill, vegetative, comatose, 2 qualified physicians state that there's no realistic hope of recovery, you can have a living will or advanced healthcare directive that will say, do I want or do I not want heroic or life-saving measures?
Yeah.
And what's key to me is I don't care which way you go with it, right? Some people want heroic measures, some people don't.
Right.
That's fine. But what's important is that you decide
Yeah.
what you want to have happen with your body. The whole Terry Schiavo example down in Florida. And, I had a lady who came in my office and she was walking in, and as the door was closing, she said, Jeffrey, I killed my husband. Well, of course, as a lawyer, I slammed the door closed. I'm talking to her about attorney-client privilege, and she looks at me and says, what are you talking about? And I said, well, you just told me you killed your husband, ma'am. And she said, no, he didn't have a living will. You tried for years to get us to do one, but we didn't. And he always said, you know what I want. She said, but I didn't realize in that moment that I had to verbalize to the doctor to withdraw treatment. And within minutes, my husband was gone.
Yeah.
And I can't help but think I killed my husband. So what I say to clients all the time is, don't do that to your loved ones. Your child or your spouse never wants to say, go ahead, withdraw treatment. No. In that moment, you want the person to be alive, even if it means they're laying there.
Yeah.
So you decide. You pick that in your body.
Make the call for them.
Yeah. All they're doing is saying, this is what he wanted.
Yep. Here it is.
Yeah. Ultimately, nobody else gets to decide today because he already decided it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
As we're-
So much goes on with what you do. It's amazing.
And so that being said, as we're running out of time,
Yeah.
if you ever have any questions, or if this is something that's interesting to you that you were looking for, how would someone get in touch with you, Jeff?
Well, certainly you can give a call to our office. It's 717-845-5390, and we are on the web. It's bellomoassociates.com.
Okay.
And our website will walk you through the process. We'd love for people to come to a workshop. It's non-threatening. It's free. Yeah. And it's just a great opportunity. It's very different than having to go pay a consultation fee.
How often do you run those?
About 3 times a month.
Okay. Wow.
And I make 3 promises.
Oh.
You're going to have fun, you're going to learn a lot, and the time's going to fly by.
There you go.
Good.
Sounds like one of our trainings at Olivia's house.
Yep.
Yeah.
I have to say, it's so awesome. We're here today in Jeff's office. It's a brand new office. Like,
is.
literally,
Yeah.
3 weeks? I think
3
we've been
weeks
here?
here,
Yep.
which is awesome.
Beautiful office,
And I know this because literally, I remember, Jeff, the day you stepped out to do your practice on your own, and you said, I'm taking a big leap of faith here. I don't know where this is going to lead me, but this is the step I need to make. I'm feeling called towards it. And I think that that's kind of where all of our synergy always comes together.
You really don't know, but we know we have to.
You have
Absolutely.
that faith, and you have that belief, and look where you're at today. And it's such a great thing.
Congratulations on all your success.
Thank you.
So Olivia's house is proud of you and happy for you. So thank you for being with us today and welcoming us into your office. To talk
And
a little
another
bit.
thank you, shout out to the
AseraCare Hospice Foundation, the sponsor of our by the way episodes, as always. Thank you very much. And I guess with that being said, I'd say tune in next month. We have another really great show coming up for you.
Yeah.
Any other things from you?
Have a great day.
I'll say have a great month. Take care, everyone.